This lesson is about inverse operations. It's a confusing phrase that you may not have heard before, but I'm going to make it very simple for you because it's actually very easy. Inverse means opposite. So inverse operations is a way of saying opposite operations. Now in maths, if you think about, well, what is an operation? There's actually 4 of them altogether. I bet if you think about it, you can figure out what they are. Addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Operations that we do in maths. So, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. They undo each other. So are multiplication and division. And that makes sense. I'll give you an example to help you understand. If you have 20 plus 15, you get 35. Here's the opposite. Start with the same number, 35. Take away instead of add, and you get the number you started with. So these two number sentences demonstrate inverse operations. This is really useful for 2 things. 1, checking if your answers are correct when doing a calculation. If you're using bigger numbers than this example here, then doing the inverse operation allows you to check if your answers are correct while having a fresh look at it. Sometimes if you're stuck, you think, oh, that number, I'm not sure if that's right. When you do the inverse, you go, oh yeah, it's the same. I've got the same number, so it must be right. The second thing it's useful for is finding out unknown numbers in an equation, which comes up in patterns and algebra, which we're going to do later on. Here's a worked example for you with a problem. I used 24 pegs to hang out the clothes and had 36 left in the peg bucket. How many pegs do I have altogether? Well, let's write it down. 24 plus 36 gives me 60 pegs. Okay, let's look at another example using the same numbers. If I have 60 pegs and I use 24 to hang out the clothes, how many are left in the peg bucket? Hopefully you're thinking 36 because the numbers are right there in front of us. And there it is. This one's different to the one I showed you before because we're starting with the same number, but then we're taking away this number to get this number. So inverse operations can work a couple of different ways. Here's the one we're more familiar with. If I have 60 pegs altogether, there are 36 left in the peg bucket. How many did I use to hang out the clothes? Start with the same number, take away instead of add, and you get the number you started with. Here's a summary as well of what we've just talked about. As we mentioned, inverse number sentences can be used to check your work, and they can be used to find missing numbers. Here's an example of that. If you have 24 plus something equals 60, you're trying to find out what the something is, you use inverse operations. Start with the answer, take away instead of plus, and you'll find the missing number. And in this case, we already know what it is because we've worked lots of examples using 36. Here's an activity for you to go on with now so that you can have a bit of a practice of this for yourself. Write your own number stories using inverse operations. They should be harder than this example. Post them on Google Classroom. Choose 2 posts by other people to solve and record in your books. Write a summary in your books about why inverse operations are useful. This will give you a record of some worked examples and some notes that you've made after watching this video.